Welcome back, everyone, to the BGF podcast, episode 11. I'm your host, Gianluca, alongside of
Brandon.
And today we got a little prediction video for you guys. So we're going to start off this little mini-series, going over all the divisions in the NFL, telling you what we think about them, off-season moves. We're going to predict their record into the 2023-24 season, and so on. But before we get into that, Brandon, there's been some news.
Finally, it's about time.
Some news in this league. Have been waiting for it. Season's around the corner. Players are signing. What do you think?
DeAndre Hopkins signs with the Titans. I think it's kind of not really a needle-changing move. It's like Tennessee's like I don't really see them as much of a. I didn't think they were winning their division anyway. I still think Jags are winning that division. And I think it helps out a player like Treylon Burks now that he doesn't have to be the first option on the offense, and it diminishes a guy like Chig Okonkwo who might have got a lot more of the ball.
A lot more, yeah. No, I agree. It's just, he went for the money. What was more guaranteed? I think New England had offered him a bigger contract, just less guarantee. But I mean, look, if he really thinks he's gonna do things in Tennessee, good for him. It's just like you said, they don't have much going for them on the offense or defensive side of the football. As much as I love D-Hop, and I think he's gonna be their number one guy, it's just how big of an impact will that be?
Even that, like, at least if they were offering a 3-4 year deal, I'd understand. But like, what do you get? $12 million a year.
2 years, 24 mil, I think.
So yeah, something like that. Like, I think he could have went to a competitive team like the Bills or the Chiefs.
Imagine Diop and the Chiefs with Mahomes throwing you the football.
Yeah, I think he could have done something like that and
taking less money, try
exactly.
to win a chip.
He's made a lot of money on his career. Like the last contract he was on, he was making.
He broke the record. No, like he signed the highest paid contract in the NFL for a receiver at the time before Tyreek and Christian Kirk.
Yeah, he was making like $24 million.
Something like that. Yeah.
It was an untradeable contract, so he was making a decent amount of money. Like I think he's made his money in his career. I think for at least if he got like 15 something. Like what did Odell get? 18.
Odell got upwards to 20, but not fully guaranteed, and it's only a 1 year thing, right?
That's crazy. He got that much, and D-Hop's only getting 12 mil, signing with Tennessee. I know.
I guess the injury question has really hindered his contract, plus his age, right? He's 31, 32. He's getting up there in age. It's just, I mean, maybe he cracks the 1,000 yard mark. Hopefully, it's just last year that offense passing the ball was not great, very run heavy team. And I don't think it's going to change much with D-Hop. Maybe he'll have that guy who can relieve some pressure off Henry. It's just, how much are they going to change from a run-heavy to pass-heavy? I don't think it's going to happen.
I just hope his career doesn't go to die in Tennessee like we saw with Julio Jones.
Oh, yeah, that was something.
But the signs were there with Julio. Like, DeAndre Hopkins was still very good with Arizona. Like, he was still demanding a lot of targets in that offense. So.
No, for sure. But anyways, moving on. Have you seen what's been going on with the running backs?
Yeah, they're not getting paid, man. This is nothing new. But,
nothing new. Everyone's speaking out, though.
Yeah, the deadline passed for the franchise tag players to get re-signed. Jacobs doesn't get his extension. Saquon doesn't get his extension.
Tony Pollard doesn't get it.
Tony Pollard is expecting to play. Well, show up to training camp.
Even Saquon, I heard he's expected as well.
No, I think Saquon and Josh Jacobs aren't going to show up to training camp at least.
Okay, and then show up season.
Yeah, by the season, I'd guess they're going to end up playing in this. Hopefully they do, because I have a lot of Saquon and Josh Jacobs stocks in the fantasy. Man.
It's just crazy when you think about it, how much work these guys do get as running backs, especially just look at Saquon last year. He was 4th in the NFL in overall touches. Yeah. He touched the football the 4th most in the NFL. And yes, he does take a beating. Running backs take an absolute killing. They get killed every game. But, you got a guy like this getting that many targets and touches. He's the focal. He is your offense at that point.
You look at a guy like Derrick Henry, man. That guy is there. You think of Tennessee's offense, you think Derrick Henry. So.
And they unfortunately the longevity is not there. They have a shortened career because of that. And yeah, I mean I feel for the players. I really do. I want them to get paid, but I also understand where the owners are coming from, not wanting to put too much investment on a guy who's maybe only there 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, but if you look at this, they're killing the running back position because up-and-coming running backs that are young now and playing high school, college, whatever,
they're going
to explore other options. They're going to look to play basketball. They're going to look at the money that's in all the other sports, and just that running back position, or even play a different position or something.
Yeah, move the receiver, turn into a Debo or something.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know what the future is for that position right now.
I hate to agree with you. It's just It's unfortunate. Such a crucial position. Maybe, something that was everyone's wish list 30 years ago in the NFL. Like, you needed a running back. And then the league's just shifted to pass heavier offense with the quarterbacks that are coming in. And, they're not as needed anymore. It's pretty messed up. But when you win a Super Bowl, you still need a running back, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You still need a run game. Somewhat of a run game.
Yeah, but you can still get them, and that's what the way GMs and owners are looking at it now. You can get it later in the. They got Isaiah Pacheco, the 6th round? 7th round, and they drafted a running back in the 1st round, and where was he all this time?
He was hurt pretty much the whole year.
So for them, it's not worth the investment in these earlier rounds. But yet this year we get the early investments with Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs.
Maybe we'll see.
Maybe there might be a change, but I don't think so. I think this is what it's gonna be from now on. Hopefully, for the running back's sake, they can get the money they deserve.
No, for sure. Just keep upping the salary cap, and they'll get paid eventually.
Mm-hmm. So you want to get into these predictions?
Let's go. Let's get right into this one. So today, we're starting off with my division, the NFC North.
Yep.
Consists of the Vikings, the Bears, Lions, and Packers. Worst team in the NFL.
So yeah, we're gonna start off with the team that won the division last year, the Minnesota. Vikings.
Minnesota Vikings. So
let's start off week 1. What are you expecting here? They're playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at home. Yep, at home. I'm gonna go with Minnesota taking it in week 1. So
I have to agree. We don't know what to expect for the Bucs, and I do think they still have a great roster. It's just, are they going to be able to figure it out early on? I doubt it. So I do see Vikings edging Bucs here. And speaking about the Vikings, last year we had a lot of one score wins, like just some fourth quarter voodoo magic that was going on. And I definitely see us winning a lot of close games this year, but not as many. Yeah. As a Vikings fan, this is going to pay me, but I don't see us going 13-4 again.
It's going to be very tough to recreate what they did last year.
Especially looking at our schedule. We have a really tough schedule considering like who we play. Like, we play the Chiefs, Eagles, Chargers,
a lot of good
Bengals
teams.
At one point.
Yeah, even touching on the Bucs, man, I don't know what to expect from them this year. Like,
I don't know either. They're a really interesting team.
If you tell me they're going to win their division, it's a very weak division, I wouldn't be surprised. If you're telling me they're going to finish last in the division and get barely any wins, I wouldn't be surprised either, because it's just a lot of, like, they got a couple of nice pieces, but the overall team itself, I'm not too sure.
It's a bunch of what-ifs in Tampa.
Yeah, I agree with that. So next up, we're going to go to week 2. Same thing as last year, playing the Eagles in week 2. Is this and it's a primetime game as well. It's another
primetime game.
He must not be looking forward to this one.
Honestly, I'm excited for this one.
But it's at Philly as well. As much as I'd love to give them the win here, I can't do it. I'm gonna give a loss here. Philly's gonna take this one.
Honestly, I'm excited for this game just because I want to see what type of team we have. The defense is gonna be a lot different with Brian Flores. I don't think they're gonna get walked on like they did last season. But I mean, how competitive are they gonna be? Right? You guys got embarrassed in the playoffs, just plain and simple. You got embarrassed by them last season. So I mean, wake up. Show the grit. Show that you want to do this stuff and win this fucking football game. Obviously, I'm not trying to be biased here. I don't see the Vikings winning, but in the back of my head, I do believe.
Yeah, you have to.
I have to believe. I have to believe. I'm gonna give us a loss here, just for the vid. But yeah, I want to see the team play.
But even, I feel like this is a matchup. If I were a fan of the team, I'd prefer to have like later on in the season.
I agree.
Just so they're more, like now, like you said, new defensive coordinator with Brian Flores. You'd like for them to be more adjusted before they get tests like this, even in week 3, as we're gonna get.
But this is gonna be a great test for the rookies, man. I mean, Brian Flores is supposed to be a cornerback guru, so we'll see what he can do with them. And I'm excited, man. I can't wait for the season to start. Honestly, I just want to see the team.
Yeah, I agree. I can't. That's the one thing with football. Like, it comes and goes so fast.
It's
man.
so sad.
And
it's so sad.
I wish it was just. You have to enjoy it when it's here, man.
I know.
It's gone before you know it. Now, week 3, another very tough game. At home, at least, against the Los Angeles Chargers. Sorry to tell you, I'm going to go with another loss here. I think they're going to start off 1-2 and lose to the Chargers. I have very high hopes for them. How about you?
I know you're a big Chargers guy, and I don't think this is going to be an easy game for the Vikings, but I do see them edging it. This is going to be one of those close games that I was talking about earlier. I don't see us blowing them out, but I do think after that Philly game, the team's going to learn a lot and bounce back from the loss, especially at home. I want to prove their fans hope. This is my honestly, you guys got to show some grit here. Early on in the season, you got a tough schedule, especially the first 5 weeks. Got to show some grit in Minnesota, but I'm gonna give them the win here.
I think if this game was late, like I said earlier, if this game was later on in the schedule, I think I'd probably, I don't know, I might give the Vikings a win there, but I think it's early on. There's still teams not going to be adjusted. A lot of like new faces on the team. I think the Chargers are pretty settled roster, and I think the Chargers are going to take it.
No, I hear you.
Now next up in Week 4, an easier matchup compared to the last two. They got the Carolina Panthers away from home in Carolina. I'll give them a win here. This Carolina team is very young and inexperienced, and another team that hasn't played much together. I think the Vikings should easily win this one.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree. I don't think the Carolina Panthers are gonna pose much of a threat. I wanna see the team play. I don't want to see them take it lightly like they usually do, and then turn it into a close game.
Yeah.
But Carolina's an interesting team. They got a great defense. Offense isn't too great. Obviously, you have Bryce Young in there. It's just, what is he gonna do with no weapons around them?
I don't know.
But yeah, I think the Vikings are gonna be too much for the Panthers and edge this one and take it 3-1.
Mm-hmm. Next up, we're playing the Chiefs.
Week 5, we go back home against the Kansas City. At least our tough games are at home, minus the Eagles.
Yeah, against the Chiefs. This is the thing when we do these predictions, like every team that's gonna play the Chiefs, I'm gonna say, oh, they're gonna lose to the Chiefs, but the Chiefs are not gonna go undefeated. So I kind of need to. This is at home.
He's giving us.
It's hard. It's hard. You go first, Mike. I have a hard time.
Here's the thing, right? So I mean, honestly, it depends how we start the season. If the Vikings start off with 2 losses, I don't see them beating the Chiefs. But if they do beat the Chargers or the Eagles, this team's going to gain a lot of confidence from that win, especially the defense. So I do see them putting up a hell of a fight against Kansas. Obviously, I won't deny it's not going to be an easy game. I don't see them winning this one as a unbiased fan. But like the Eagles game, in the back of my head, man, there's some hope. I don't think we're going to get blown out by any. I think it's going to be a very competitive game, and one of those one-score games just not going to go our way. And it'll be a very, very important game for the development of the defense.
Yeah, I agree. I think it'll probably be a close game, but I'm going to edge the Chiefs here just because it is the Kansas City Chiefs, the reigning Super Bowl champions. You got to give them
their flowers.
And next up in Week 6, we got our first. Is this the first
divisional game, baby?
The first divisional game against the Chicago Bears at Soldier Field. I'm going to give the Vikings a win here. I'm not expecting too much out of the...
Yeah, I think, honestly, the Bears are going to be the weakest team in the division, behind the Packers. And I just don't see them putting up much against the Vikings. I think after all these tough games, the Vikings defense is going to be a lot stronger going into Week 6, especially against a weaker team. And yeah, I'm going to give the Vikings the win here.
Yeah, with the Chicago Bears, I think they're a really improved roster, but they won 3 games last year.
Yeah.
How much better could they possibly get? I'm not expecting a playoff team here.
Imagine division winner at the end of the year. I'm gonna freak out.
I highly doubt that, and we'll get into them later on. But I'm gonna give the Vikings a win here and move them to 4-2. In my 4-2. No, I think.
No, you're
3-3. I messed up there.
You're 3-3. Yes, sir.
3-3. You're what? 4.
I'm 4-2.
4-2.
We got this beautiful primetime Monday nighter.
This is a game that
we might go to. We've mentioned this a lot.
We should be there. At home for Minnesota against the San Francisco 49ers. And sorry to tell you, I think it's another loss. I think we'll see who's starting at quarterback for the Niners. But I heard a lot of good reports on Trey Lance actually this week. It changes a lot. I don't know.
Week to week, it changes. You got Brock Purdy. I've seen a report once about Sam Darnold, but I just completely...
Sam Darnold isn't starting.
I just completely disregarded that one. But yeah, no, look, listen, man. Here's my honest take on this game.
I think it's going to be a lot... I wouldn't be surprised if we lose this game.
I think the Vikings are winning this game.
Not matter.
And I don't think it will be easy. I think it's going to be one hell of a dogfight. But I think we're going to absolutely smash the Bears the previous week.
Mm-hmm.
Team's going to be riding really high on confidence, especially... if they beat the Chargers like I predicted, they're going to have that tough game win. And I think that they're going to probably lose to the Eagles, right? So the Eagles and the Niners are a very similar team. The way they play football and the way they're coached is very, very similar. They're very tough. They grind you down. So we're going to already have that exposure to the Eagles. Now, Brian Flores is not a soft man. This guy's very aggressive on his defense, and I absolutely love him for that. And I think he's going to send a lot of heat San Francisco's way. inexperience at quarterback is going to cost them here, but like I said, it won't be a crazy one for the Vikings. They're just going to edge it out, probably late field goal or late score touchdown in the fourth quarter, whatever it may be.
Speaking of physicality, the San Francisco 49ers are probably the most physical team in the NFL.
Probably, so. Yeah. I know it's
going to be a very good matchup, but I think this is going to be one of the games of the year, to be honest. I don't know if that sounds...
Hey, listen, Vikings had a few last year, right? So
this is a game I'm most excited for probably this year.
Trust me, the Vikings have a roller coaster of a season every single year.
Yes, sir. Especially last year.
I don't want to remember. But yeah, no, I'll get this out the way. So we're playing the Niners previous week. I think the team's going to be beaten down.
Green Bay here, I think.
I
also think a loss is coming up. Is that what you're getting to?
Yeah, unfortunately. I think, whatever it is, the Vikings always split with the Packers. I think this year we're going to split with Green Bay once again. And coming off a game against the Niners, the team's going to be destroyed, especially that it was a Monday nighter. You only have 5 days rest. I think the team's going to lose here in Green Bay.
I agree.
And split the series with them.
Yeah, I agree with that, especially that it's at Lambeau, a tough place to go. No matter what type of team Green Bay has, it's always going to be a tough place to go.
Plus, you're playing almost in the late October, so it's going to be cold.
Plus the Monday night factor as well from the previous week. I think it's going to be.
And you're playing a gritty team previously, so your team's going to be beaten down.
Exactly. So there was even the record last year. Teams the week after they played San Fran, they were like 1-9, I think.
Even the Eagles, they had some stupid style. They were like 2-12 or something dumb, which was crazy.
And especially with a short turnaround, it should be very tough. And yeah, I think logically, Green Bay should probably be taking that game. Anyway, next up, just the update for our records, man. I got them at 3-5. It's tough.
I got them at 3-5. I got them at 5-3.
That's tough, man. Next up, I got week 9 we got the Atlanta Falcons away at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. I'm going to go with Minnesota getting back on track here and getting a win.
Yeah, I'm also going to agree. I don't think Atlanta has too much going for them right now. Obviously, they're a young team. They're going to develop and become great. I just don't think it's going to happen this year. And Vikings take it.
Yeah, they have a lot of flash names on offense now with Pitts, London, and Bijan Robinson. They did make some additions on defense with Jesse Bates and did they have anyone else? I think that's about it. But that defense was already so bad that I don't think just Jesse
Bates is huge for them.
Already Jesse Bates was on the decline in Cincinnati. I don't think it's gonna improve the defense. Like it's gonna improve them, but not to the point where they're gonna be an amazing team. So I'll give the Vikings a win here. Next up, we got the New Orleans Saints at home at US Bank Stadium.
I think the Vikings edge this one.
Another one for me as well. I think they're going to win here and get back to 500 for my record.
I have us going on a little run here. Yeah. 2-game win streak. We're 7-3 in my books.
Yeah, New Orleans I think they're going to be more... I think they're going to be better than people think, but Minnesota's not a game I expect them to win.
Yeah. Then moving on to week 11, we're going Mile High at Denver. Another primetime football game. Sunday nighter in Mile High.
Like I said with Tampa, another team in Denver, I'm not sure what to expect from them.
Because what quarterback do you receive?
I don't know. I think it won't be as bad as last year, but I don't think it'll obviously be the highs of Russell Wilson that they paid the big money for. I think it'll be somewhere in between. Just like even their roster in general. Like I know they improved their offensive line this year, so that should definitely help. Sean Payton as coach. I think Cortland Sutton's going to regress a lot there. I think Marvin Mims might take a jump for them. It's just like, I don't know. I feel like they're just a alright team, middle of the pack team.
Yeah,
away from home. This is a tough one to, and it's a primetime game, so it's a tough one for me to kind of guess. What do you think? You think they're going to win this one?
Look, I'm giving the Vikings a win over the Niners. I think they're going to lose this one. I don't see them winning all the primetime games, especially with Kirk Cousins. I'm going to give them a loss here. They're going to Mile High. Statistically, we don't play good in Denver. That's just, I don't know why. That is what it is. But I see the Vikings taking L here in Denver. Another close game, but just falling short of it. And yeah.
I also believe it's going to be a close game, but I'm going to give them the win here in a close one. Because we know from last year how good they are in those tight games, so I'll give them the win here.
Moving on to week 12, Chicago Bears, not going to say much in Minnesota.
I'm going to give another win here. I think they're going to sweep the Bears.
I think
and the
so
week
too.
before the bye, I think they'll be up for it.
And the week 13 bye is huge for this team because you play all those tough opponents early on in the season. You get a bye late, so if you're on a little bit of a losing streak or whatever it may be, you go on a tear. Plus, your opponents coming off the bye are tough, but not the toughest, except for 1 week.
There's one team that's...
There's 1 week that's probably an L, but we'll get into that.
Now, next up, week 14. Coming off the bye, they got the Las Vegas Raiders. Another team not have our time, but I just think they won't be very good again this year.
Yeah, I don't see us losing to the Raiders.
It is away, but on the road. But I still think Minnesota's gonna take this and move to 8-5 in my record.
Yeah, I got them at 9-4. Then we got the Bengals to be determined, so this might be a prime timer, week 15 in Cincy.
Yeah, this
is a tough one.
I can't find a way to give them a win yet. Since I'm expecting big things from Cincinnati this year.
I have to agree. I expect a lot from Cincinnati this year, and their offense is going to be good. But I do think this will be one hell of a football game, especially late on in the season after Flores had 15 weeks to prepare the defense.
That should be a big.
It should be a really, really big test heading potentially into the playoffs before it, seeing how the team looks, feels, whatever it is. So.
Yeah, you'd love for the schedule to be kind of reversed.
I would love for the schedule to be reversed. Test the big opponents later, but hey, I mean, it's just how the scheduling works. Vikings have a pretty tough schedule.
Yeah, you gotta play what's in front of you. Hopefully, we'll see what they can do.
That's it.
Week 16, they finally get their first divisional game against the Lions. Well, not the first divisional game, but the first game against the
Lions. And here's my take. Coming off a loss, I see them taking the Lions here at home. Yeah. And it won't be easy. The Lions got a lot better. I like their roster a lot. I think I have high hopes for this team. I do think the Vikings are going to split with the Lions as well as the Packers. So
I also believe that too. And because this is the one at home, I think this is the one the Vikings will win, especially coming off a loss. So I'll give the Vikings a win here, and the Lions take an L. Next up, I think they're going to beat Green Bay at home.
Yeah,
they
lost the first one.
I don't think they could lose again. So that brings them to 10-6. And unfortunately, I think they're going to go end off the season with a loss at Ford Field in Detroit. So that'll put the Minnesota Vikings at 10-7.
I got them going 11-6 on the year. I also see them taking a loss towards the end, depending where we are in the play. If we are in the playoffs, if we clinch division, whatever the situation is, I don't see them really putting the starters out here, especially if we clinched. If we didn't, though, I could potentially see the Vikings sweeping the Lions.
Yeah,
depends what we have to do with this situation.
Especially it's such a close gap, and when they play them, if they win the first one, is that going to be a psychological advantage against Detroit? And is 10-7 going to be good enough for them to win? Well, at least for me, I think it'll be good enough for them to win the division.
I think they'll win the division. I think it's going to be a lot closer than we think, but I do see the Vikings edging the division once again. I think it's their division to lose, honestly.
Yeah, we'll see now. We'll see what the Lions is going to be for their record. I think this, for me, is going to be the real...
But what do you think about the Lions offseason? Did you like what they did? Or
I think they added a lot of good pieces on defense.
Yep.
Which is a spot on their team where they really needed to improve, because that was probably their weakest spot last year. I think I would have liked if they could have added another piece on offense just to help out.
Especially because Jameson Williams gone for...
But I don't even think that's much of a thing, because he wasn't there at all last year and they were still good offense. I guess with DJ Chark leaving, I just would like them to have a number 2, but with Jahmyr Gibbs, he's basically going to be their wide receiver too, Laporta.
Pretty much. Then you got Marvin Jones potentially filling in that role for a bit. Mm-hmm. I really like Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. I think that's one hell of a great signing.
Exactly. C.J. Gardner-Johnson as well. Cameron Sutton from Pittsburgh they bring in.
Yeah, Brian Mosley as well. Interesting guy.
Mosley. A lot of good pieces, especially for the secondary. So
I agree. I think this team's going to be a lot more... It's going to be better than what we think.
And already it's a Dan Campbell team, so we're going to be
love me some Dan Campbell.
They're always a tough game, so just their week 1 is the toughest of the games they're going to get.
The thing that I have to say about the Lions is they got a very fair draw. Like, their schedule is very fair. You'll see as we move on through it, but yeah, week 1 they're going against Kansas City. First game of the regular season.
Yeah.
I unfortunately think the Lions are going to lose here. I don't see the Super Bowl champions losing week 1 against the Lions.
Especially that's the first game. We already know Casey's going to becoming ready for Detroit's head.
Yeah, no, that's it. But I do think we're going to see a very competitive game here. I don't think the Lions are going to get destroyed by any stretch of like they would have previous years. I think it's going to be very competitive, and we'll see really what type of team we'll see in Detroit.
I just think those first 6 weeks, I think they will struggle, Detroit.
I agree.
So week 2 they're gonna play Seattle, another very tough game. I think they're gonna start off 0-2.
I have to agree with that. I think they're starting off 0-2 as well. Seattle's not an easy team.
Seattle's a very tough team, especially now with the JSN edition. They also got Devin Witherspoon on defense, so they got a very formidable cornerback duo. I think they could improve on their defensive line.
Yeah.
Seattle, but I still think they're good enough to beat Detroit.
Their corners are elite.
Mm-hmm.
I love Tyreek Woolen.
Mm-hmm. One of the better corners in the league already.
I love the guy. And I love me some Geno Smith, man. Honestly, I really like what he's done in
As
Seattle.
much as I don't like Seattle, I think that they've built a very good roster. So I think they could definitely beat Detroit. Next up, at home against Atlanta. I think this is where they get their first win of the season. It's tough because I do want to see Atlanta have a good year, but I don't know. This is going to be a tough game for them. I think this is going to be Detroit's first win.
I have to disagree with you. I think the Lions here are taking another L.
0-3.
0-3 to start the season. Just because Atlanta's coming off a loss. I think first 2 weeks of the season I'm going to give them a loss. They're playing the Vikings. No, they play the Vikings later. I do see Atlanta putting up a fight against Detroit. Detroit's coming off 2 losses, so their morale is going to be low. And they're going to take this game too lightly. They're going to think they'll come back, bounce back, and take it easy. And just get not destroyed by Atlanta, but it's going to be a close game. They're just going to fall short of it and move on to 0-3 in the season.
It just, for me, because it's at home and they already started off 0-2, I think this is the bounce back spot for them. This is a game they have to win, so I think this.
I don't hate the take.
Be very good.
I don't hate the take.
But I think moving on to week 4 at Lambeau Field against Green Bay, I think this is where another loss comes. So, like I said, tough start to the season for them.
This is where I give them a win because I think Dan Campbell, after starting 0-3, is going to really rile up the roster and get them ready. Going into Lambeau, divisional game, he's going to put all his eggs in that basket and just pump up the team. And they're going to win this one. I'm giving them a win in Lambeau.
Interesting for me. I think it's a loss.
I think they're splitting with Green Bay this season.
Yeah, me too. But I think Lambeau going to be a tough game for them. Week 5, Carolina. Yeah, you go first on this one. I have a hard time on this.
So after winning in Green Bay, they're going back home to face Carolina. I'm giving them another win here. I'm just going to ride the momentum.
You know what? Because it's at home, I'll give them the win. I think Carolina, it's going to be a very close game. I think Carolina could give them a fight, but because it's at home, I think they'll win this one and move to 2-3.
Yeah, I got them 2-3 as well. And then they're going to Tampa. Week 6 playing the Bucks in Tampa. I do see the Lions winning this one, starting a little win streak, 3 in a row for me. The Bucks are just an uncertainty, and the Lions coming off 2 wins in a row. Dan Campbell's going to want to get to 500. I think the team's going to start rallying and move on to 3-3 on the year.
For me, I'm giving them a loss here. I
no
think,
problem.
On the road in Tampa, a team that is hard to predict, but I think they could win this one against Detroit. Next up, and man, they have a tough.
It's not easy.
Schedule.
It's not easy.
Baltimore here again on the road. The tough season continues, man. They get Jameson Williams back for week 7. That could be a boost for them, but I'm really high on Baltimore this year. I think.
I agree. I have to agree with you. I'm also giving them a loss here
against Baltimore to move them to 2-5. A tough. Bad start for Detroit here.
I got them at 3-4. Then they go back at home, first time in a while, 2 games on the road, to play the Raiders, and I see them bouncing back from the Baltimore loss.
I agree with that.
I give them a win here over Las Vegas. They're going to edge them out, and
especially the week before the bye, I think this is one where they'll take it.
Yeah, no, for sure. Plus then after that week 9 bye halfway through the season, rest up. I got them sitting at 4-4. I'm sure the fans are going to take that. Mm-hmm. And we'll see what they do coming off the bye. Rest up the starters, keep them healthy.
Mm-hmm. Next up, they're playing the Chargers.
And you go get the Chargers in LA.
This is a very tough game. I like the Chargers this year, but I think this is going to be my surprise game. I think the Lions beat them.
I don't hate it.
They go into SoFi. Dan Campbell gets them fired up, and they take a win against LA.
I'm going to give them a loss here. I just think the Chargers' offense is going to be too much for their defense at this state, but I do see it being a competitive game. And,
that's definitely going to be a very good game to watch.
Yeah, and then they're going to move on back in Detroit for a little stretch. Against Chicago, first time playing the Bears.
I think they're going to get a win here. I think post-bye is where they're going to get a lot of momentum.
Yeah, I agree with you.
They're going to stack up a few wins, so this is another one where I think they're going to beat the Bears.
I also think they're sweeping the Bears this season.
I don't know about sweeping, but I think at home, I think they're going to be beating them there. Next up, we got Green Bay. Another win for them here.
I got them losing this one, actually, because I gave them the earlier win. So, like I said, I see them splitting, so they're moving to 5-6 for me.
To me, now they're on a roll. 3 wins in a row. And now they go into on the road in New Orleans. Yeah, you go here. Man, this is another tough game for me to predict.
This is a really tough game. I'm going to have to give it to New Orleans. I think
I'm going to agree with you.
They're going to surprise a lot of people this year. The Saints are going to be a lot better than we think. And Derek Carr at quarterback is an upgrade.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to give them a loss here in New Orleans.
Almost anything was an upgrade on Andy Dalton and Jameis Winston.
Yeah, sure. But like I had mentioned earlier, and then Week 14, moving right on to the Chicago Bears. I think they're going to take this one at Soldier Field. Like I said, I think they're sweeping the Bears.
I agree with this.
Move on to 6-7 on the year.
Next up, they got Denver.
At home.
Another tough game. Hard to predict. I'm going to give them the win, though, at home.
I'm also gonna give them the win here. I think they're gonna beat Denver at home.
Get back to their winning ways with their second win in a row for me.
Yeah, and Week 16, I gave the Vikings the win here, so I'm gonna give them the loss.
Same here.
Went on to 7-8. Now here is where I shock a lot of people. I think the Lions are edging the Cowboys.
Me too. I think they could.
Week 17.
This is definitely a spot where teams are gonna expect them to lose, and I think they're gonna go into the playoffs with a nice
little
this
stretch
is
of
going to be a
momentum.
time where they're going to be in the hunt. It's going to be very tough to make the playoffs. And I think they got a good mentality where they can edge out games like this. And,
yeah, one hell of a great head coach for that.
Exactly, and beat the Cowboys.
I think so too. I think the Cowboys are going to take them a little too lightly because they'll be probably comfortably in a playoff position at
I'm
this
not
point.
even sure if I wrote down if this was a win or loss yet. So this will move. I think they're going to lose. Anyway, let's move on to the next one. I think they're going to lose to the Vikings, so that would give them their 8th loss.
I think they're going to win the Vikings just because they're going to split. So I have the Lions finishing the season with a big 9-8. First time 500 in a long time.
Me too. I got them at a 9-8 record. We got our wins and losses at different places, but we ended up at the same place with a 9-8 Detroit Lions record. I think, you know what did they finish last year?
I think they were 7-9.
Well, yeah,
where'd they hold on?
I don't know, but they just missed out on the playoffs at the end. Yeah. I think if you told the Detroit Lions fans they're going to finish 9-8, they'll be very happy with what they've had to go through in the past.
1,000%. They're going to be like, wow, we're 500.
So, yeah, that's our Detroit Lions predictions. We'll move on.
The Lions were 9-8 last season as well.
Oh, they were 9-8.
They were 9-8.
So if they could recreate that, is it going to be good enough for the playoffs? I don't know. We'll see that in the later episodes.
But like, I wouldn't be surprised if some of these losses they turn into wins as well. Like if they finish better than what they did.
Yeah, a lot of these are going to change. Like, there's always going to be upsets and stuff. So I think now we'll move on to the Chicago Bears.
You want to go straight to the Bears? No problem. Let's do that. What do you think about their offseason?
I think they made a lot of good additions. It's just, like I said earlier, when you win 3 games the year before, I don't know how much better you can really get than the win column.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, you brought in nice linebackers. I really like Tremaine Edmonds and TJ Edwards.
Yeah.
Those are really great signings. Bolster that defense that didn't have much going for it.
That DJ Moore signing is what's really well traded.
That trade is going to really determine whether or not Justin Fields is good, because now you give him a security blanket, something that he was lacking. Obviously, you got to improve that O-line. I don't think they did enough. But I do see them obviously being better than what they did last year. It's just we'll see how good Fields is with a security blanket at receiver, one of those elite wide receivers that every team wants.
Yeah, like both of these guys, their whole careers, it's been Justin Fields. Oh, he doesn't have a receiver. He doesn't have anyone to pass to. DJ Moore. He doesn't have a quarterback. Now both of these guys, it's time for them to shut up with this and to actually prove that they're great players.
That's it. But I think the Bears are gonna have a rough time with their schedule.
Mm-hmm. I think week 1. This is where I think they'll win week 1 against Green Bay.
Oh, you have them winning.
At home, I think they're gonna win this one.
I actually see them losing week 1 to Green Bay.
I'm very intrigued to see what you have as their record.
It's the worst in the division. I'll just say that.
Yeah. Next up, we got them playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the road. This is one I'm gonna give them their first loss of the season.
I'm giving them back-to-back losses. I think they're losing in Tampa. They're just, that offense is not gonna be settled at the moment. I think Fields is gonna try to find his groove, fit into that offense. And I'm giving them a second loss here against the Bucs. I think that defense is still great in Tampa.
Mm-hmm. Next up, we got the team that's been tough for every team, the Kansas City Chiefs in Week 3. I don't even gotta say what I think here. Loss.
I think the Chiefs are just too much for the Bears at this point.
Yep.
And they got the Denver Broncos Week 4 at home.
I think another loss. I don't think they could.
I think they'll surprise. They'll surprise the Broncos here. I'm gonna give them a win. They are home. Denver's coming home, so I mean, we'll see. They're starting 0-3. I think they're gonna show some grit here, and edge the Broncos.
To me, they're on a 3-game losing streak. Confidence is low on that team right now.
Yeah, but then they go to Washington, play the Commanders.
I think it's another loss. I think the Commanders. Well, Sam Howell was expected to be the starting quarterback there. I still think, even with him at quarterback, I think it'll still be a decent team just because they have like a good defensive line, a pretty decent defense. They're one of those teams that they're still pretty tough.
They're very mid.
Yeah, they're a mid team, but they're still tough.
Yeah, I hear against. You. I hear you.
We saw the Eagles last year lose to them. Like they're a gritty team, so I think it's gonna be a tough game for them. Plus, it's on the road, so I think Washington's gonna take this and a 4th loss in a row for the Chicago Bears. I'm
actually gonna give the Bears the win here. I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt. Coming off a win against Denver, that's a big time win for them. They needed it. They're gonna move on to 2-3, keep that momentum going in Washington.
Week 6, another loss.
Week 6, going to Minnesota. Like I said in my Minnesota predictions, they're gonna sweep the Bears. So I have the Vikings winning both games, so we don't have to say much. But anyways, Week 7,
1-5. But yeah, for me, this is very similar to last year, where they win their first game of the season and they go on a big losing streak again. Week 7 against the Raiders, at home. I think this is the one where they finally get another win.
See them getting the win, eh?
And beat the Raiders to move on to 2-5. The mighty 2-5.
The mighty 2-5 Chicago Bears. I actually see them losing this game.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
I think the Raiders is going to be too much for that defense. I think their offense is going to, if Josh Jacobs plays especially, that run offense plus that pass offense with Devontae is going to be too much for the Bears to handle.
Jimmy G.
I think Max Crosby is going to just wrap up Justin Fields. And yeah,
it is going to be a tough game. For me, it's definitely
gritty.
That's going to be a toss-up.
Yeah.
But with how bad it's been to start the season, I think this is one where they can get a win. Next up, Week 8, the Chargers. I think this is a loss for them again. Chargers, we said it earlier, very good team. Not much more to really say about them.
Yeah.
Next up, the New Orleans Saints. Another loss.
Here, you know what? I'm gonna have the Bears upset the Saints.
Bro, I got them at 2-7 right now.
I'm gonna have the Bears upset the Saints just because they come off a little bit of a losing streak and they're gonna take one, and I think the Saints will be that surprise.
If it was at home, I would agree with you, but I think
I know it's a little hard to.
And New Orleans, another loss. Next up, the Carolina. They really just play the same team.
The Carolina Panthers Week 10 is interesting. I mean, I've given the Panthers a loss everywhere else, so I'm gonna give them a win here.
I'm gonna give Chicago the win here. I think
giving Chicago the loss
at home. I think they could beat Carolina.
I mean, Chicago the loss, Carolina the win. I don't think Carolina's gonna lose all their games against the NFC North.
This is gonna be a very interesting game now with DJ Moore going back to play his former team.
Yeah, we'll see.
So I think there's definitely gonna be a chip on
the
whole Chicago team's shoulders just for their teammate to get a win against his former team. So I think they could win this one. Next up against Detroit at Ford Field. What did I say here? Did I say...
I have them taking another loss, man.
Me too, because at home for Detroit, so on the road for Chicago, I think another loss. Moved to 3-8 on the year. Another terrible.
I'm at 3-8 as well,
Bears
and I had said this earlier. Week 12, they're playing the Vikings. I said the Vikings will sweep.
So another loss.
I'm going at 3-9, hitting the bye.
3-9 going into the bye, and then they play the Lions, and this is the one where for me. Well, you said they were gonna sweep. For me, I think this is the one they win.
I think they lose this one as well, moving to 3-10 on the season. But I do see them going on a little stretch towards the end of the season, giving the fans some hope. I think Fields will finally figure it out, start passing the football a little more. I see them edging out the Browns here, but it will not be easy.
I really like the Browns this year. This is
I
one
know
of the
you do.
teams
I know you
high
do.
on. Plus on the road, you already know what it is. Another loss, 10th loss on the year.
I have them at 4-10 on the season as well. But then, yeah, they go back home to play the Cardinals.
Arizona team that I'm not giving a win for at all this year.
I agree with that as well. I think they might go on. They might go winless.
This is the win here for the Bears, where they get their 5th win of the year.
And then staying at home, playing at Atlanta. Here's the thing. I have the Bears on a 2-game win streak. I'm going to keep the momentum going, give them a win here.
I got them taking an L.
I see them beating out the Falcons and as well beating out the Packers just because I don't see the Packers making the playoffs. So I think the Bears, just for like momentum and whatnot, are going to play and want to win against Green Bay since they lost earlier. And yeah, that's going to move them on.
For me, they are a 5-12 team, most probably being the basement of this division.
I got them surprisingly at 7-10.
Yeah, I think that's a bit high, but for me, they're 5-12. I think honestly, I think it's about right. 5-12 seems like a type of Bears record. Like.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I don't like the Bears, so I love that take.
Next up, we're gonna move on to the Green Bay Packers. I'm actually interested to see what I'm gonna have for the Packers because.
What do you think about their offseason, honestly? Do you think I think they did nothing.
It's obviously a downgrade. Once you're going to lose your best player in franchise history, it's going to be a downgrade of a offseason. But
they did nothing.
I don't know. Like, I still think they have a very good defense. Like, they still have one of the better defenses in the league. It's just the offense is going to be a big question mark. So
I agree. I do think their defense is capable of winning them a few games.
Exactly.
Their offense, you lost Aaron Rodgers, your franchise guy. You're one of the great, probably a Hall of Famer in a few years. And you're replacing him with Jordan Love. People are saying he's good. People are saying he's bad. I don't know what to think about Jordan Love. Haven't really seen him play too much. We'll see this season. It's all him, man. And if he's average, just average, I can see this team edging like 8-9 wins.
I've always been like pretty impressed for him. Like when in the few games that he came in for Rodgers, he was always like pretty impressive. Looked pretty decent. So I'm expecting like nothing crazy, but I'm expecting him to still be pretty decent. So good enough to get them wins and be solid enough for QB.
Yeah, I don't hate that. Plus they drafted another edge piece, Lucas Van Ness. So that should be interesting. Luke Musgrave at tight end is gonna be really cool as well. I think he's gonna do good later on in the season. I don't see him doing much early, but later on I see like Jordan Love and him connecting and doing some great things.
Yeah, like we said earlier, the defense is always gonna be very good and can win them games. So anyway, starting off, we did this already with a week 1 against the Bears. I think this is a loss for them. They're going to start off 0-1.
I have them actually winning. I have the Bears starting off 0-1. So I have the Packers winning here. I think they're going to split with the Bears.
I also think they're
going to split with every team in the division.
Yeah, well, besides the Vikings. Or no, the Vikings did split. The Lions, I have them beating... Actually, yeah, even me. They did split with all 3 teams.
Then week 2, you're moving on to Atlanta, in Atlanta.
Another loss for me. I think they go to 0-2.
You have them taking a loss here. I actually have them taking a win here against Atlanta.
Oh, I could see it. Could happen, especially.
Starting off 2-0, thinking they're great, but then they go back home, play New Orleans, and I see them.
I'm actually gonna change it. I'm gonna give them a win here. I think maybe 1-1.
I see them not winning against New Orleans. I think
too.
this New Orleans Saints team is going to surprise a lot of people.
Me too. So I got them at 1-2.
I got them at 2-1 on the season, and then I have them at 2-2 because I have the line splitting with them.
No, wait, I'm confusing myself here. Yeah, wait.
Sorry, I went a little quick there.
Yeah, wait. So I have them losing to Chicago.
Yeah, them beating Atlanta.
Beating Atlanta and losing to New Orleans. So 1-2.
1-2, and what do you have with Detroit?
And Detroit, I had them winning. So 2-2 on the
year. 2-2 on the year. Then you go to Vegas. In Vegas.
I think this is a game they lose.
I think they'll take this one just because they're coming off a few losses. So I see them winning, bouncing back. Moving on to 3-2 on the year, going into the bye with momentum.
Very early bye. Week 6.
Week 6 is really early, especially with this team. They're a little, not too old, but they have a few veterans on that team.
You'd like a later.
You like a later bye, especially like if you're trying to make a push late on.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, anyways, we'll see. And then I got week 7 going to Denver.
Another loss for me.
Coming off the bye, going to Mile High is not an easy place to play. I just, not sure what Denver is, but I do see them losing here.
Mm-hmm. To me, they're 2-4.
They're 3-3.
And I think they're losing to the Vikings here.
I also see them losing to the Vikings here.
2-5, starting very.
Actually,
similar.
no, hold on. I have them beating the Vikings here. 4-3. I have them losing later on. To the
yeah,
Vikings.
me too. Yeah, me too. So they're 3-4 right now.
Then they stay at home and play the Rams. The Rams are an interesting team this year. I don't know what are they, if they're any good. I know that Cooper Kupp's going to still dominate. Stafford, what kind of quarterback is he going to be?
It's a win for them.
That's why. So
I think Stafford, they've been trying to trade him, as we heard earlier on.
They've been trying to restructure his contract. He's not really willing to do it.
Yeah. They haven't been able to find a trade partner, so I think they're not very happy with Stafford. Yeah. And I think it's going to be another rough year for LA.
For the Rams, yeah. I have to agree. I think I'm going to give the Packers the win here.
Yeah, me too.
Moving them to 5-3 for me.
And I think here against the Steelers, they take a loss. You?
I agree as well. I think week 10 at Pittsburgh, the defense is elite.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be
two good defenses. I think it's going to be a boring game to watch, to be honest.
Probably two defenses going at it. Who edges? And yeah, no, I think I see them taking a loss here.
So for me right now, there are 4-5.
I got them at 5-4. Week 11 at home against the Chargers. We've talked about the Chargers
All episode long. So
I see them losing this one
as well. 4-6.
Yeah, I see them going on a mid-season losing streak because then they got the Lions, who I said they're going to split with.
This is the one I think they're going to lose.
So they're going to lose to the Lions here.
4-7 on the year. Then they play the Chiefs.
The Chiefs is another L. I don't see them being the Chiefs.
4-8. Tough, man.
Then I got the Giants in New York. I think they could take the Giants, but it won't be easy by any stretch. So I'll edge them here, but I'm not. The
Giants are another team where they had a very good year last year. I don't know how to rank them. I think I could see them being good again, just because Brian Daboll is such a good coach and good offensive coordinator that you could get their offense rolling with the mediocre weapons they do have. But
yeah.
I don't know, or was it just
the Daboll magic season 1?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. Was it just the honeymoon phase? That's good. So yeah, next up they're playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
The Bucs are interesting. I mean, we mentioned them at length. I think the Packers take the Bucs here.
Me too. Just because it's at home, so I'll give them
the edge just because of that home field advantage. But here's where it gets interesting. I actually have them losing.
Me too. I have them losing
against Carolina because later on in the season, I think this Carolina team is going to impress a lot of people, especially with Bryce Young.
He'll really get into his own.
Get into his own and do his good stuff, and I see them taking an L here.
Me too.
And then I had them splitting with the Minnesota Vikings early on.
Have them losing this one.
I have them losing this as well.
I mean, week 18, I have them winning against Chicago.
You know what? I can also see them beating Chicago.
Moving on to that's the last game of the season, so moving on to a 7-10 record. About what I expect from this team.
I have them at 8-9, surprisingly.
Okay, so pretty similar. I think they're going to be very similar to a Steelers team that they're always around 500, hovering around 500.
Yeah, it's just it's really going to depend on Jordan Love. What kind of quarterback is he? How great is he going to be year one? And we'll find out. That's for sure.
So, just to go over our rankings again.
Got the Vikings taking the division once again at 11-6.
So you go over yours first, and then I'll go over.
No problem. So I got Vikings finishing 11-6 on the year. I got the Lions finishing 9-8, Packers going 8-9, and the Bears going 7-10. So that's my order.
For me, it's gonna be the Minnesota Vikings winning the division at 10-7. The Detroit Lions coming second at 9-8. The Green Bay Packers coming third at 7-10, and then bottom of the division, the Chicago Bears have 5-12. I think I'm pretty happy with this. I think, you know what, when you're just doing it game by game, it could be like you look at the record like I don't really agree with that. I think, you know what, looking at it, I wouldn't be surprised this how it ends. So I like it.
I like it a lot too. I think it's going to be interesting, but yeah, it should be interesting. I'm excited to see the other division, see where the Lions fare in all this mess, and also the Vikings. Under the Mike Zimmer regime, we never made the playoffs back-to-back seasons.
Well, now they're winning the division back-to-back seasons.
So, I mean, we'll see. Maybe it's a different team now. Okay, we'll see. I know it is, and I just can't wait for the season to start.
I wonder if they're going to have 2 playoff teams in this division. My prediction will probably be no. I think it's just going to be the Vikings. I don't think 9-8 is going to be good enough for the Lions. Maybe it will be.
Maybe it will be. We'll see with the other divisions.
Because it is a weak... NFC is a weaker of the 2 conferences, so...
Yeah, it's really top-heavy. Mm-hmm. Like, you got the teams on top, and then you got everyone else.
You really got the Niners, the Eagles, the Vikings, and the Cowboys, so... Those are the...
I don't see anyone from the South putting up much of a fight.
Yeah, I think that those are the class of the conference right there.
So then you got everyone else.
I think I'll wrap it up here. This has been episode 11 of the BGF podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll see you guys next time.
We'll also do a little end of season review recap if you want of the record, see where we went wrong, and all that fun stuff. And don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and follow us on all our socials. Link down below in the description box. And have a great day, everyone.
See ya.